One text effect that sadly seems to be missing in Title Studio is the chiselled or engraved effect. I've searched everywhere in the UI and have failed to find one. Embossed text is easy, but there's no easy way to create chiselled text. In the end, I decided that it must be possible somehow to achieve the effect I wanted. Many hours later, I came up with the method. It's not simple, but if you carry out the steps in this tutorial, you'll successfully create the effect. I'm using Title Studio within Continuum 2022. Your UI may be different. I'll make a start by creating a flat text string. I'm going to leave it as default, but you of course will enter your desired string. The text now needs changing into a spline object. To do this, click on the Change Track Media icon for the texture track and select Spline Object. You'll see that multiple spline object entries have been created under the texture track if you expand it. Now, with the texture track selected, I'll create a spline object by selecting one of the spline creation tools. It doesn't matter what shape it is, as long as it totally encompasses the text string. It's important that you don't create this by selecting Spline Object from the Add New Media option. This will create a separate spline object, and the method won't work if you do that. For this demonstration, I'm going to create a rectangle. I'll turn off fill for now. I now need to select all the spline objects. This can't be done using the track structure, as I explained in tutorial 61. You do this by first selecting the texture track, switching focus to the composite window, then pressing Ctrl A. This will select all the spline objects. Now I must go to Tools, then Path, and select Combine Contours. This will combine all the spline objects into one. The spline object now needs changing to an extrusion. To do this, select the spline track entry and click on the Change Track Shape icon. Then select Extrusion. The spline has disappeared because I turned fill off earlier. If you select the spline track entry and adjust the tumble X parameter, you'll see that the letters have been burnt through the spline shape. At this point, it's a good idea to rename the shape track to something recognizable. I'll rename it Text. That's the first part done. I now need to create a new spline object so that it covers the text string. To do this, select Add New Media and select Spline Object. Then use the Rectangle Spline tool to cover the text. It then needs converting to an extrusion using the Change Track Shape icon. As with the text entry, I'll rename this as Text Background. I'll now pull this entry down to the bottom to uncover the text. You will immediately see that the text now appears to be chiselled. In fact, it is chiselled. To see this better, I'll select the scene entry and use the Tumble X parameter. You may be satisfied with that effect, and that's fine. But if you need to view the reverse of the spline, you'll see an undesirable result. If you don't want that, or if you want to increase the depth of the chiselling, the scene must first be changed to 3D render. You'll see that as soon as this is done, the text disappears. This is because the text background spline object is sitting at the same point on the Z-plane as the text spline object. To correct this, select the text background entry, then change the position Z parameter. This is more easily achieved if the scene is tilted. Now select the text background entry. The blue arrow, which is the position Z arrow, can be used to move it backwards until the text is revealed. The further back it's moved, the deeper the chiselling is. The depth of the chiselling is limited by the extrusion value of the text spline object. If more depth is required, select the text spline track entry and increase the extrusion value. You'll need to experiment a little to get the depth you want. To enhance the chiselling effect, select the text entry, then the extrusion tab, and increase the bevel amount. Experiment with the bevel amount value and the spline background position Z parameter to get the desired result. If you're not convinced that the chisel effect is real, tilt the scene and zoom in. It really is chiselled. You can enhance the effect further by applying a suitable material style to the text entry. So, despite the fact that apparently Title Studio doesn't have a native chiseled text effect, if you follow the steps in this tutorial, it is possible to create one. It's a little involved, but once you get used to the method, it becomes fairly easy. The only tricky part is getting the chisel depth and bevel size that you want. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing. I also welcome any comments and suggestions you may have. Until the next time, bye for now.